The Florida Gators are hosting the Miami Hurricanes in just a few weeks on August 31st, and I think the game's more important for Miami to win.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast and on YouTube. Happy Friday. I'm Brandon Olsen. Find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with Giants Country and find our YouTube Dynasties, College Football 25. We will be doing Madden franchise as well. With Whole Nine Sports, WHOLENINE Sports. Today's episode of Locked On Gators is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. As playoffs wind down, sports stop sporting like we want them to, but this summer, FanDuel is looking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. And I want you to know, I'm unloading thoughts here. I want to make it as unbiased as possible. Genuinely, I just want to make it as unbiased as possible as to why I think it's more important from Miami's side of things that they win than it is for Florida. Obviously, as a Florida Gators fan, I want Florida to win. Obviously, I've said before that I think these teams are relatively even. I think that Florida being at home means a lot for them. We'll see Montrell Johnson's injury status. We'll talk about that later. But public perception is that Miami's the better program, right? Just national media is talking about it. When they talk about Florida and Miami, they talk about Miami's better. I disagree. I think, like I said, I think that they're very even. Sure, you can give Miami the edge, but I don't think it's as big a gap as people like to make it seem. But Florida won 5 games in year 2. Miami won 7. Sure, whatever. Public perception is that Miami's the better program. Vegas thinks that Miami will win, right? Vegas, right now, I'll pull up the FanDuel line right here. I already threw money on it. I'll let you know. I threw 100 on Florida to win. Will that happen? I hope so. But Vegas has Miami as 2.5-point favorites right now, minus 122 to win. Okay. I disagree again. But the expectation nationally is Miami wins this game. Even though, as Florida fans, we expect our team to win the game, right? Fair. However, it's not just about better team wins. It's about, for me at least, I look at Florida as, for Florida, if you lose this game, if you lose in week 1, you kind of get to prove yourself all season long. We talk about the difficult schedule, all that stuff, but Florida, if you lose against Miami in week 1, it'll be the toughest loss for any Gator fan to swallow all season. But if you lose to Miami in week 1, week 3, you have Texas A&M, right? Week 6, you have UCF. Week 7, you have Tennessee. Week 8, you have Kentucky. Week 10, you have Georgia. Week 11, you have Texas. Week 12, you have LSU. Week 13, you have Ole Miss. Week 14, you have Florida State. You get what I'm saying? You've got plenty of opportunities to prove yourself if you lose this game against Miami. I know, again, for me, I would rather lose, I think, any other game. I'd rather lose to Kentucky again than lose to Miami. But realistically, and from an evaluation standpoint, if you lose that game against Miami, you get more opportunities to prove to yourselves, hey, we got better as the year went on. That was a fluke, whatever it is. Miami's side of things, even if you think Florida isn't good, like if you're watching this and you go, Florida is a 4-win team, that's still the toughest test that you're going to have until Louisville, mid-October, Florida State after that. I think that for Miami, if you lose this game, the public perception is that the first tough game that you played, you folded, and then you don't get to shed that until halfway through the season. That's a killer. I'm just saying, like, I know that, sure, some Miami fans might not look at it that way because you're going to say, oh, well, even if Miami loses to Florida, we got plenty of wins on the schedule that we should be better than the other teams we're going to play. Sure. But Florida State just won the ACC and didn't make the college football playoff. Now, if you win the ACC, you're guaranteed. Sure, congratulations. But the questions never went away about how good are they really, because they were beating up on bad teams and had a lot of close games against some of those bad teams. And so it kept bringing up the question of, are they really that great? For Miami, if you lose to Florida, you're going to deal with, are they good though? Until Louisville, if Louisville is a good team, or Florida State, if Florida State's a good team. But even then, there's no guarantee that you win that game and you'll shed that, because if you win that game but you lost to Florida, you're going to have to deal with, okay, but you lost to an SEC team. You beat an ACC team. Prove that you could do it consistently. Things like that, you're going to deal with a lot. And that's where I stand from. I think for Florida, if you lose the game, it's a lot easier to recover from, in terms of if it wasn't an indicator of what you really are. I think it's easier to recover from. I think you have more opportunities to recover from it if you're Florida. Tough schedule, sure, but Florida, if you lose to Miami and then you beat Texas A&M, beat Mississippi State, like, then you're 3-1, assuming that you beat Stanford. Then you got home game against UCF. Like you've got opportunities to prove yourself repeatedly after that. Miami doesn't. That's where I say I think it's more important in terms of just the public perception side for Miami to win that game. Mostly because you don't have many opportunities to prove that was a fluke. You're going to have to deal with that. You have to deal with that all year long. Lose to Florida too, and the recruits you have that considering Florida's going to go, why would you go to those losers? Everyone thought they were better than us, and we beat them. Florida doesn't have a lot of those guys right now. Florida doesn't have a lot of commits, period. So Florida doesn't have a lot of kids where it's like, well, yeah, that's unfortunate that you lost, because Florida's been on the hot seat, right? Florida's got a bunch of kids that are like, well, I need to see how the season goes. So they're just not going to add kids. But lose them? I don't think so. Now, Florida's offense is going to have to take on a Miami defense that has a lot of attention on them right now. They are getting a lot of attention. We'll talk about that next on Locked On Gators. I love sports. I love them so much that I never want them to stop. But as playoffs wind down, we get fewer games, and sports just aren't sports like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up any bets anytime that I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel's hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. And remember that FanDuel is an official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. And I need you guys to all know, right? This is the best time of year. We are a few weeks away from the Florida Gators opening their season. That's huge. And I want to talk to you a little bit about home field, which if you're watching on YouTube, this shirt that I'm wearing, first off, one of my favorite shirts I have. I love the color of it. It's orange, but like that, not weirdly orange. It's kind of like, I don't know, like peachish, tangerine-ish. It's a weird orange, but I love it. Right? I love it. It's one of the most comfortable shirts I have. That's home field. all of the shirts. You see I wear a black, the swamp shirt, that's Home Field. A bunch of my shirts that I wear that are Florida are Home Field. This is the premium collegiate apparel brand. They're based in Indianapolis, home of the Big Ten, which is gross, but still home of the Big Ten. Incredibly comfortable. Officially licensed apparel, too. Officially licensed. They've got over 180 schools. I can get Toledo stuff if I want from Home Field. They have Pepperdine. Pepperdine. I don't know how it's pronounced. I've only seen it spelled. I'm sorry. I've only seen it spelled. I know that the host of Locked On Saints, he went there. And I told him when I saw them pop up. Home Field's gearing up fans for the entire 2024 season, from the marching band's first pregame show to the final play of the championship. Yeah, we got football boxes. Contains 3 never-before-seen items for your school that are not available anywhere else. Curated so fans have new gear to wear all season long, suitable for all weather conditions. Platinum Box VIPs will also receive additional exclusive items, a new hat or ringer, a VIP koozie, 2024 Platinum Pass, guaranteeing 20% off and early access, so no more missing out on Home Field because it's sold out, because they sell out quick. To your school's football releases throughout the 2024 season, available August 9th, 10 a.m. Eastern time. I'm just saying, highly limited. I promise you, they will sell out. Okay, so go to homefieldapparel.com. Again, a ton of colleges. You could be a Miami fan watching this, and guess what? They got it, and you can save money on it. Yeah, use code GATOR24, GATOR24. Save money. Get some, again, amazing, comfortable gear at homefieldapparel.com. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day, we are available daily and free reviews in the podcast and on YouTube. And the Florida Gators offense takes on the Miami defense. And I will be honest with you, I'm not too sold on Miami's defense overall. I think they've got some really bright players, or really bright spots. I don't know about their IQ, but I know that they've got really bright spots there. And that wasn't a knock on them. I just don't know about their IQ. I don't have an in with Miami. However, outside of Darryl Porter Jr., that secondary should be concerning, I think, if you're Miami. I think Darryl Porter Jr. is a really good corner. I think he's a Sunday player. Everyone else, I need to see it from. So that's where I stand on Miami's secondary. It's just, I think Darryl Porter Jr. is really good, but not too sold on the rest of the guys in there. Their linebacker group is one that's really interesting. We'll get to defensive line. We're working our way down. Their linebacker group is one that's really interesting to me because I feel like Miami's linebacker group is built like a 2010 starting NFL linebacker room, where good against the run, but I think really bad in coverage. I think that Miami's linebacker room, they're really just, they don't move me in coverage at all. I think they got a lot of work to do there. If I'm Florida, I don't care if I'm talking about tight ends, running backs, slot receivers. I'm going over the middle of the field a lot. I'm going to make you stop me, or you're going to get killed by it. And so I think that their linebacker room is really suspect. Not horrible, or suspect in coverage. Sorry, let me specify. Suspect in coverage. I don't think they're horrible overall. Just in coverage is pretty tough. Then, of course, you go to their defensive line, their front. Probably going to be really good, right? They went out in the portal, and they added good football players. They bring back probably the best freshman pass rusher in the country last year, Ruben Bain. I don't think that's like an insane thing for me to say. I think that's fair when we're talking about college football players that were true freshmen. Yeah, I think Ruben Bain probably going to be up there. He is what we call a really good football player. I had as many pressures as Princely last year. And I've said, I think Prince Lee was a really good pass rusher. Ruben Bain had as many pressures, more pass rush attempts, but as many pressures there. And so, yeah, I think that Ruben Bain's a really good top flight pass rusher. I think that the rest of the room, Simeon Pero, is someone that of course has. I feel like there's just a lot of talk around him just since he got there. Really, it's entertaining to me. Tyler Barron is someone that I'm not sold on. I mean, and Tyler Barron is simply. I saw him play against Florida and not do diddly. Why would I all of a sudden think that he's going to be this big time player? So I think that Tyler Barron is someone that has gotten quite a bit of hype from Miami fans that I've spoken to. Unfortunately, I don't really get it. Messidor, we'll see if he's healthy, but I think that the linebacker room not good in coverage. Good run defenders. I think that they do a good job and they're disciplined defending the run. Mish Powell from Washington is going to be just interesting because, both Florida and Miami took in a Washington DB transfer portal this past cycle. But I think for Florida, the main thing, neutralize the pass rush and find a way to neutralize it. I expect to see Hayden Hansen in pass protection a lot against Miami. Hell, would not shock me if they went whatever side Ruben Bain is on, you're going to go. Similar to how I think it was the Steelers defended Myles Garrett, where every time Myles Garrett moved, two tight ends moved with him, and they just kind of followed him. I don't think you need two, but it wouldn't shock me if you went, hey, wherever Ruben Bain is, that's where you're going to be too. And just double team, help them. Make everybody else prove that they can win. Because, as a unit, haven't seen them work together, right? And I want to point out, pass rushing as a unit matters. You need to know where your teammates are going to be so that you're not clogging lanes, colliding with them. If you're running stunts, you need to have that timing down. So pass rushing as a unit matters. This will be their first time doing that in an actual game. Interested to see how that one works out. Now for Florida, you got to neutralize the pass rush. And that got harder with Montrell Johnson being listed as week to week. Personally, I don't think he plays in this game. I don't have an inside source for that. I don't think he plays in this game. But, I mean, who's going to step up as a running back in pass pro? I don't know. Maybe they focus less on running backs helping in pass pro and more on them leaking out and becoming a check down option. Maybe you go, you know what? We don't like Trayon Webb, Jaden Ball, Katie Daniels, Cam Carroll, Jacoby Jackson. We don't like them in pass protection. However, have them leak out of the backfield, catch a pass. If you just dump it off to them, just let them catch and run. Maybe that's the way you do it. And it's like, yeah, they're going to run right past you. Hit a screen. If they're going to be really aggressive rushing the passer, go screen. Dump it off over them. Things like that. I think you can do to neutralize the pass rush. Because I think, for me, honestly, that is the scariest part of this Miami defense. That pass rush has the potential to be elite in the country. Elite. You have to find a way to stop them. And then, of course, Florida, your defense has to figure out a way to stop Miami's offense. And we're going to get to that next on Locked On Gators. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer that it gets to the first pitch, with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. I bought concert tickets with Game Time. Hell, the game that we're talking about today, Miami at Florida, I bought my tickets using Game Time. Section 16, front row. Same. Just saying, I will be there. And I will be enjoying the heat, the sun, the atmosphere. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code Locked On College for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Thanks for being Locked On Gators, your first listen of the day. Every day, we are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast and on YouTube. And the Florida Gators defense was horrible last year. I will say this. For any offense, your first game of the year being in the Swamp is a tough draw. For any offense, genuinely. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's new. Your first game in the Swamp is really tough. It's just a bad break there. The Swamp, I've said, is, I think, a top 2 atmosphere in college football with Death Valley at night. The difference is I think the Swamp's like that at all times. So I do think that it's really tough. I think it's a bit, I don't know. I feel like people overplay it and downplay it. I think in some areas where I think for Cam Ward, communicating will be difficult, and hearing the play call, because now they're going to have the helmet. It's going to be hard to hear that, and that being your first in-game experience with it's going to be tough. I think getting the call to everyone else could be a little bit tough, as far as getting it to the offensive line and the offensive line actually communicating it. Things could get dicey there. Could have screw-ups. If you're going to audible anything to a receiver, it's going to be hard with noise. I think it's really tough to have your first game there. I mean, we saw a good Utah team that won the Pac-12 when it still existed. We saw a good Utah team come into the Swamp and lose. And because they had moments where they struggled, took penalties, turned it over, whatever. They had moments where they struggled and there was miscommunication. And I will say this for the offensive line, where I get it, you bring back a good bit of talent. That's Samson Okunlola coming in, or starting now. You've got Francis Mavingoa coming back, Jalen Rivers coming back, Zach Carpenter probably starting at center for you guys. I think that, again, in week 1, it's tough. Especially again in the Swamp, where you're going to be trying to communicate with each other there. Might be a little tough. And I've said before, if this game is week 8, I would probably have a very different mentality heading into it. I would probably be leaning more toward Miami if this game is week 8. Because for me, one of the biggest knocks on Miami is all those pieces that you've got. All those pieces you brought into the portal this year. The Samuel Browns, who, by the way, I mentioned, I don't think I did a full show on him, but I mentioned him as someone I wanted Florida to target when he hit the portal. I think he's good. Samuel Brown, Cam Ward. Didn't want Florida to go after him, but I'm a fan of Cam. I've interviewed Cam. Cam's cool, right? I like Cam. Damian Martinez, damn good running back. And if you could declare early for the draft and leave after year 2, he probably would have did that. I think he could have done that based on what he did last year. Bringing in those guys offensively in week 1 in the Swamp with an O-line and learning the offense, learning everything. It's hard for me to come in and say that I'm confident that they're going to be clicking on all cylinders. And I think you need to be clicking on all cylinders. That's why I said if this is week 8, probably a different conversation. Now that they've been gelled, my biggest knock this entire time has been it's really hard to come into the Swamp week 1 when you've got new pieces and win. Because it's hard to come in with the same pieces and win. Ask Utah. And also for Miami's offense, Cam Ward needs to protect the ball. He struggled throughout his career with fumbles a lot. Those have been really bad. And it's at times where he's just careless with it. That's the stuff that would frustrate me. Like, not just, blindside swat, like careless things. That's where I go, yeesh. That's going to be a little bit tough. If you don't protect the ball, you're going to lose a lot of games. Because now, you're not in a dead conference anymore. You're in the ACC, where you expect to be competing for a conference championship. If you win that, you're going to be playing big boy football. Your week 1 game is against an SEC program. You're playing big boy football week 1. Okay? So you got to protect the ball. Can't make stupid mistakes. have to be on. And then for me, week 1, that's hard to do. I do think that for Florida, you've got a good bit of new pieces as starters on the defense, especially in the back 7. Back 7, you've got Pup Howard making his first start for you at linebacker. Asa Turner, who, again, super experienced, first start for the Florida Gators at safety. Probably Devin Moore starting at corner 2. Probably Sharif Denson starting at the star. And your back 7, that's more than half of them as new starters. That stuff matters. You got Jordan Castell coming back, Jason Marshall Jr. coming back, Shamar James coming back, who, by the way, Shamar James played half the games last year. You've got a lot coming back and getting work. It's not an easy first test. Because you got Xavier Restrepo, you got Jacoby George, you got Sam Brown. I don't know what we're going to see from Nikar. I don't think Jojo Trader plays too much in the first game. But you've got a lot going on in the secondary or the back 7 if you're Florida. Got to figure that out. So I do think that Miami will have their opportunities to take some shots. But I do think that it's really important for Miami to go, hey, what if we just protected the football a bit? Curious to see how their run game works too. Florida's run defense was really bad last year. Florida's everything defense was really bad last year. But for Miami, you got to capitalize on something, right? That's it. The opportunities are going to be there, I think. You just got to capitalize. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever in the podcast and on YouTube. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olsen. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find out my written work with Giants Country and NFL 33, and I will see you all next time.